What's going on, everybody? Welcome into NBA Uprise. Now, it's been a while since I've uploaded on this channel, but I'm going to try and ratchet back up the content over here as we head into the offseason. And I'm going to start things off with a series of mock drafts, and that's exactly what this video is going to be. Now, I'm uploading normal mock drafts over on my Blazers channel. A lot of you that are watching this are probably Blazers fans that are familiar with that channel, but if you're not familiar with me or anything that I do, I'm a Blazers fan. I have a Blazers channel. I am uploading normal mock drafts over there. I will put a playlist link in the description below so you can go and click on my very first mock draft if you want to go watch it. But I'll put all my mock drafts, the ones from the Blazers channel and the one from this channel, all in one playlist so you guys can easily follow along. Now, I'm doing normal ones over on that Blazers channel. I'm doing ones with trades over here. So every mock draft I post here, I'm going to be including some trades. Now, I have 7 trades in this one for you guys. I'm going to do at least 1 or 2 more of these trade version mock drafts over here on this channel. So we'll ratchet up the trades. I will ratchet things up and really go hard for the trades for you guys in the next 1 or 2 mock drafts with trades videos that I do over here. So in my first mock draft that I already uploaded over on my Blazers channel, I went in depth on a lot of prospects. If you want to hear my in-depth thoughts on a lot of guys, make sure to go watch that mock draft. In this one, I won't be going as in depth. It'll be a little bit quicker, but I will be discussing some trades to spice things up. So without further ado, let's jump into the mock draft. The first pick I have is probably going to remain the same. That's Cade Cunningham to Detroit. I doubt this changes in any of my mock drafts. There's really nothing more to say on this one. Now for the second pick, I have Toronto trading into the spot, and here is our first trade. I have Toronto sending Fred VanVleet and Chris Boucher to the New Orleans Pelicans. The Pelicans will send the Raptors the 10th pick, Steven Adams, Jackson Hayes, and Kira Lewis Jr. The Raptors are going to turn the 4th pick, which they already have, in the 10th pick that they get from the Pelicans in this trade, and they're going to send them to Houston for the 2nd pick. So Houston trades down from 2 to the 4th and 10th picks. That's so that Houston can get whichever one of Jalen Suggs, Jalen Green, Evan Mobley, and Cade Cunningham falls. The Pelicans do this trade. They get a good starting point guard. Rumors are that they want Kyle Lowry, but I think Fred VanVleet is a better fit for them and a little bit more easy for them to get. Also, Chris Boucher, I think, is the perfect big man to put next to Zion Williamson. He can protect the rim, but he can also stretch the floor as well. He's also very cheap money-wise. They get off of Steven Adams' contract. They do have to give up 2 good young pieces in Jackson Hayes and Kira Lewis Jr. as well as that 10th pick, but I think it's worth it if they're really trying to make a playoff push, which is what this trade would be doing. The Toronto Raptors make this trade because they're going into rebuild mode. They move up to 2 in order to take Evan Mobley, the big man out of USC. Evan Mobley is the best big man in this draft. There's no debate about it. I love his game. I think there's a case for him maybe deserving the first overall pick to Detroit, but I think he's a clear-cut number 2 prospect in this draft at this point. Toronto trades up from 4 to 2 in order to snatch him. Now, we also have a trade for the 3rd overall pick. We have the Orlando Magic trading up from 5th and 8th to 3rd. Cleveland moves down from 3 to number 5 and number 8. Now, Cleveland might trade down from 3 to number 5 and number 8 if they want to keep the Colin Sexton and Darius Garland backcourt together. Because if that's the case, then Jalen Green as a 2-guard and Jalen Suggs as a point guard doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. If Cleveland falls in love with a prospect like a Scottie Barnes, Jonathan Kuminga, or maybe somebody else, then I could see Cleveland doing that trade. Orlando moves up in order to take Jalen Green out of the G League. This would be a home run pick for them. They need high caliber prospects, as high a caliber as they can get. So if they can package those 2 mid-lottery picks in order to move up to 3 to get Jalen Green, who I think is the best scorer in this entire draft, I think it's a great move for them. The 4th overall pick, Houston, after trading down from 2, they take Jalen Suggs, the point guard out of Gonzaga, to be their point guard of the future. I know they got Kevin Porter Jr., who also says he's a point guard. I guess you got 2 point guards in Houston. 5th overall, Cleveland, after trading down, they take Scottie Barnes, the power forward out of Florida State. State. I could see Cleveland in some twisted way thinking that Colin Sexton, Darius Garland, and Scottie Barnes can be like Steph, Clay, and Draymond Green. Obviously, we all know that's not the case, but Cleveland, without LeBron James, has always seemed to have made some pretty silly moves, so maybe that is their thinking. I like this pick, though. I'm not saying the pick is silly. I'm saying kind of the thought process behind this pick for me is Cleveland being silly and thinking they're the next Golden State. I don't know, but Scottie Barnes, 5th overall to Cleveland. They need a 4 of the future, and Scottie Barnes can help out that undersized backcourt defensively, great defensive player, and then he can also play make for them as well. The 6th overall pick, OKC stays at this pick. They take Jonathan Kuminga for the 2nd mock draft in a row. They're taking Kuminga. I talked a lot about Kuminga's potential fit long-term on OKC in my first mock draft, so if you're interested in that, go check it out, but this is a home run pick for the Thunder. 7th overall, I have the Toronto Raptors here. They make yet another trade. I have Toronto trading Pascal Siakam in the 46th overall pick to Golden State for Andrew Wiggins, the 7th pick, and a 2022 lottery-protected first-round pick. Now, a lot of people might say this is a little bit of an overpay for Golden State, but I'm not super high on Andrew Wiggins. He does get to go home to his home country, though, which is, of course, Canada. The Warriors, on the other hand, get another playmaking forward that fits their system pretty well. I would envision them going with Draymond and Siakam at the 4 and 5 spots. Siakam provides them with defensive versatility as well. It does open up a hole at the starting 3. Maybe they bring back Kelly Oubre and try and fit him in there, or maybe they address it in other ways. But I really like Siakam to Golden State here. With the 7th overall pick, I have the Toronto Raptors taking Alperen Sengun, the power forward / center out of Turkey. And this one's just fun for me because I like envisioning a Sengun and Evan Mobley front court. Evan Mobley can be a stretch 5. Alperen Sengun is not the best rim protector. Evan Mobley can help him in that regard. Evan Mobley can also switch out and guard 4s. So Evan Mobley is so versatile as a player that I think you could fit him next to a Sengun, and it would just be an insanely skilled front court at the 4 and 5 spots and just be something that maybe the NBA has never seen if both Sengun and Evan Mobley are able to develop long term. So this would just be Masai Ujiri just being creative, and there you go. That's their front court of the future, Sengun and Evan Mobley. Now, I don't have a trade graphic because these picks have already been traded, but Cleveland, as you remember, traded down from 3rd to 5th and 8th. I then have them trading down from 8th to 10th and 24th with the Houston Rockets. The Rockets, of course, got the 10th pick in the trade that sent Fred VanVleet to New Orleans. They trade back up a couple spots. They have 4 picks in the first round. Otherwise, they cash in 2 of those to move up to 8 in order to take Keon Johnson, the shooting guard out of Tennessee. They drafted Jalen Suggs to be their point guard of the future. They're drafting Keon Johnson to hopefully be their shooting guard of the future. Kevin Porter Jr. is their small forward / point forward of the future. That's an interesting 3-man duo there. Of course, you got Christian Wood as well. So hopefully, for the Rockets' sake, the start of something good for them. They have a lot of athleticism in that backcourt, though, with Jalen Suggs and Keon Johnson. With the 9th overall pick, I have the Sacramento Kings taking Jalen Johnson, the forward out of Duke. I also had this in my 1.0 mock draft. So if you want my thoughts on that pick, go check it out. With the 10th overall pick, I have the Cleveland Cavaliers selecting Kai Jones. I really, really like Kai Jones, and they go for the best player on the board, in my opinion, by going with Jones. He doesn't necessarily have a path to starting if he's stuck behind Scottie Barnes as well as Jarrett Allen, but he could be a really good 3rd big off the bench for them, and if he's able to reach his upside, which I think is underrated, then maybe they move off Jarrett Allen, or maybe they move Scottie Barnes to the 3. I don't know, but Cleveland isn't in a position to take players based on fit quite yet, so they end up going with the guy with the highest upside left on the board, in my opinion, and that is Kai Jones. Now, we have another trade. We have Charlotte trading down from the 11th pick to OKC. Now, we have another trade, and the graphic for this one got kind of messed up, but you have Charlotte trading the 11th pick to OKC, who sends Charlotte back the 16th and the 18th picks. The Thunder trade up. They have a ton of picks in this draft. They have a ton of picks in every draft for the foreseeable future. So they package a couple of those to move up to 11. Charlotte moves down for the 11th pick. With the 11th pick, the Oklahoma City Thunder select Moses Moody, the shooting guard out of Arkansas. They would be hoping that Moses Moody could become the long-term starting 2 there in OKC next to SGA, who would be the starting point guard. You got Kuminga at the 3, Bazley at the 4, Poku at the 5. That's an interesting long-term starting lineup that OKC would have assembled there. Obviously, they have a ton of different options going into the future with all the picks they have, but I really like them trading up in order to select Moses Moody. With the 12th pick, the Spurs can't take Sengun. He already went 7th, so they take another international prospect. That's Josh Giddey, the point forward out of Australia. I just like putting international players on the Spurs. It just makes sense. It's what the Spurs do. So they can't get Sengun, who I had them taking in my first mock draft. Instead, they take Giddey. 13th overall pick, I have the Pacers selecting Chris Duarte, the wing out of Oregon. Now, Chris Duarte did not participate in the draft combine. He's been given a promise by a team. He also says that he thinks he's a lottery talent. So for me, putting 2 and 2 together, if he thought he was a lottery talent and didn't get a promise from a team in the lottery, then I think he would have went and tried to show out at the combine and show why he was a lottery prospect. So the fact that he shut things down after getting a promise, now he's saying, yeah, I know where my spot is. It's in the lottery. It makes me think a team in the lottery has promised him. I don't know who that is. I have him going here to Indiana. They have a lot of wings. Maybe this helps them move off of some. I don't know. It could be Golden State 14th, but I got Chris Duarte going 13th to Indiana. 14th, I have the Golden State Warriors taking Davion Mitchell, the point guard out of Baylor. This is way too low for Mitchell, but he ends up getting snatched up by Golden State. They end up trading the 7th pick for Siakam, and then they get a perfect third guard, in my opinion, in their system. A guy that can step in and be a defensive menace as well as be a solid offensive player as well. I really like this pick for Golden State. They get great value on Davion Mitchell, who falls to 14. With the 15th pick, I have the Washington Wizards selecting James Bouknight, the shooting guard out of UConn. Washington's going to get great value on this pick. They have maybe the best 15th pick I've ever seen in any draft. Getting Bouknight here is phenomenal. I mean, Davion Mitchell only goes a pick before them. They're going to get good value here. In my first mock draft, I had them taking Josh Giddey. They get Bouknight here to hopefully be their long-term Bradley Beal, because I got a feeling they're going to move off him in the next year or so and hit a full rebuild. Getting a guy like a Bouknight who has a ton of scoring potential with the 15th overall pick to potentially replace him long-term is a great get for Washington. Now, after trading down from 11 to 16, I have the Charlotte Hornets selecting Usman Garuba, the power forward out of Spain. He'll be playing in the Olympics if you want to watch him. He got playing time for Spain in their final tune-up game against the U.S. I don't know if he's going to get legitimate minutes in the Olympics, but he might, so you might be able to get a preview of what he has to offer. He's a good defender, maybe the best defensive big man in the entire draft. Some people have said I would put Evan Mobley there, but Usman Garuba definitely is in that conversation. So in order to get him at 16 is a great get for the Charlotte Hornets. 17th, I have the Memphis Grizzlies selecting Corey Kispert, the small forward out of Gonzaga. They could use some additional shooting. They could use a three-point sniper that can play on the wings. They could use a guy that fits their transition-heavy offense. They play a really fast tempo. Corey Kispert is a phenomenal fit for the Memphis Grizzlies, and being able to get him and bring him into the system, he would potentially be an all-rookie first-team player for them, given how well he fits that team's system and what that team has. He's going to be ready to play a role right away. Doesn't have the highest ceiling, but if you can bring him in and he can be as serviceable as I think he could be for the Grizzlies, that's a great pick at 17. At 18, the other pick that Charlotte picked up by trading down, I have them taking Zaire Williams, the small forward / power forward out of Stanford. Just an upside pick here, a guy that kind of struggled with his three-point shot last year at Stanford and what was a weird season. I don't really know what Zaire Williams is going to be. He's kind of a boom or bust prospect. So you trade down, you take Usman Garuba, and then you take a chance and you take a risk with that second pick that you got in that trade. Here with Zaire Williams going 18th to Charlotte. 19, I have the New York Knicks selecting Franz Wagner, the combo forward out of Michigan. He falled to the 20s in my first mock draft. A lot of people said that he's fallen too much, and it's just hard for me to find a good fit for him. His game is kind of hard to fit in. I think he might fall on draft night because he's the type of guy who, playing style wise, he kind of needs the ball in his hands. Didn't shoot the three ball the best at Michigan. Does a lot of things solid, but not one thing super well. But it has some questions as how he can fit off of guys in a more reduced role in the NBA than he had at Michigan. But I don't know. Maybe I'm just overthinking it. It's just his fit is weird for a lot of teams unless he's able to truly develop into, I don't know, like a fringe all-stars type of player. I have him going here at 19th to New York just because I think this is good value. He's kind of a weird fit with Julius Randle and Obi Toppin, and I don't really like his fit on New York, but being able to get a player of his quality and caliber here just makes sense. With the 20th overall pick, I have the Atlanta Hawks taking Jared Butler, the point guard out of Baylor. They need a long-term point guard to back up Trey Young. They get it in Jared Butler. You could maybe play those two together. I have some concerns. Neither are the biggest point guard in the world, so maybe they're a little bit too undersized to play together a whole lot. So maybe Jared Butler's role is capped here in Atlanta compared to maybe another team that could have drafted him, but I like his fit as a backup point guard for the Hawks. With a 21st overall pick, I have the Knicks taking Bones Highland, the shooting guard out of VCU. They took Emmanuel Quickley last year. Bones Highland kind of reminds me of Emmanuel Quickley. They could go for some more guard depth, so I feel like Bones here, 21 to New York. Bones Highland just seems like a New York Knicks pick. And I know I said that in the last video. I can't even remember who I said it about. I think I said about Jared Butler, but Bones Highland is a Knicks pick. I could see him going 19th or 21st to New York. With the 22nd overall pick, I have the Los Angeles Lakers selecting Isaiah Jackson, the power forward / center out of Kentucky. He's more of a project big. I'm not really sure there's a whole lot of players here that could step in and play a role for the Lakers next year. I assume they're going to get ring-chasing vets like they always do, so they go with a guy who's a little bit more of a long-term piece, but he is athletic and can play some defense, so maybe he could step in at the end of his rookie season or year two and play a role for the Los Angeles Lakers. With a 23rd overall pick, I have the Houston Rockets selecting JT Thor, the big man out of Auburn. This is their third pick in this draft. They took Jalen Suggs, number 4. They took Keon Johnson, number 8. They take a big this time around to provide them with some big man depth. Long term, JT Thor next to Christian Wood is kind of intriguing. I really like JT Thor's game. He's another one of those boomer bust types. He's not as much of a boomer bust type as other prospects in this draft, but he's just a guy where if he can figure things out offensively and truly tap into some of the flashes of upside he showed on that end, then he's going to be a really good NBA player. If not, then he's a guy that can play some defense and is athletic and is just a role player in that regard. With the 24th overall pick that Cleveland got from trading down from 8 to 10 and 24, they end up selecting Trey Murphy, the forward out of Virginia. This is just a 3-and-D pick. They need defense around that Sexton and Garland backcourt if they want to make it work long term. They took Scottie Barnes for defense at the power forward position. Kai Jones, the backup big man with the 10th overall pick. Trey Murphy long term could slot in as that starting 3 if Isaac Okoro doesn't pan out. He's a better shooter than Okoro is. Not quite the defender, but still a good defensive player and an athlete that can play in the open court and can play off guys and knows how to cut and finishes really well off cuts. So a really good role player long term and fits kind of what the Cavs need to find in this draft. With the 25th overall pick, I have the Clippers selecting Trey Mann, the combo guard out of Florida. Clippers fans, you're going to have two mans. You're going to have a Trey man, you're going to have a Terrence man. That might get a little bit confusing, but the Clippers need guard depth. Despite Terrence Mann's breakout last season, they still need a guard in this draft, in my opinion. Unless they can get like a Trey Murphy or a guy that can slot in right away in the front court, they need to go with a guard. Trey Mann here is their guard, the best guard left on the board. With the 26th overall pick, I have the Denver Nuggets selecting Jaden Springer, the combo guard out of Tennessee. Denver also kind of needs a guard, so they're going Jaden Springer. This is another one of the guys that I need to do more research on before the draft is underway because I'm streaming it and I need to truly know what I'm talking about on pretty much everybody that gets selected. If you want to catch that stream, it will be over on the Blazers Uprise channel, so even if you're not a Blazers fan, you might want to subscribe to that. But they end up taking a guard here. I will have a better breakdown of his game on draft night. With the 27th overall pick, the Nets take Joel Ayayi, who is a great role player for a contention level team, great cutter, great offensive rebounder for his position, good shooter, has some secondary playmaking potential, is just a guy that can play his role, and I think his role in the NBA will be the same exact role as he had in college at Gonzaga, and he did a really good job in that role, so I see the same thing for him in the NBA, and Brooklyn could go for some wing depth in my opinion, and they get a guy who could potentially step in and play right away. Sorry to make you wait so long for another trade. Here we go. It's not too spicy, but I have the Pelicans trading 35 and 40 to the Sixers for the 28th pick and the 50th pick. And with the 28th pick, I have the New Orleans Pelicans selecting Quentin Grimes, the shooting guard out of Houston. They could go for an off-ball guard. They traded for Fred VanVleet to be their point guard next year, and Quentin Grimes is a 3-and-D shooter that could fit off of the guys they have there with Fred VanVleet, Ingram, and Zion. He could fit off those guys pretty well, in my opinion. Might not be ready to play right away, but long-term, I like his fit on that team. And one more trade for you guys. Here we have the Phoenix Suns trading the 29th overall pick as well as next year's second round pick and Dario Saric, who should miss the entirety of next season with an ACL tear, unfortunately. They end up getting a backup big man in Thomas Bryant. They needed a serviceable backup big man all season long. Frank Kaminsky had a nice moment in their final game of the season in Game 6 of the finals, but he's not a guy that Monty really trusted fully. So getting back a guy like Thomas Bryant, who is coming off an injury of his own, he's a guy that I like for the Suns. He was one of the more underrated big men in the league before he ended up tearing his ACL, I believe it was. So if he's able to bounce back from that, he should be a very solid backup center and maybe play a few minutes next to DeAndre Ayton. Thomas Bryant can shoot the threes so he can spread the floor. Defensively, some question marks with that pairing, but Phoenix needs a backup big man to get it with Thomas Bryant. And with the 29th overall pick, I have the Washington Wizards selecting Sharif Cooper, the point guard out of Auburn. I have some serious concerns with Cooper's game, but his upside has to be respected. He's extremely dynamic. If he just learns how to shoot the three-point ball, then he'll be a really good player. If he doesn't, then he could end up being really, really bad. It's one of the biggest swing factors of any prospect in this year's draft is Sharif Cooper's three-point shot. Long-term, Sharif Cooper and James Bouknight, maybe that's their Westbrook and Beal. I don't know. But they end up taking an upside pick here at 29. And with the final pick of this mock draft, this is maybe a little anticlimactic because it's the same one as my first one, but I really like Ayo Dosunmu for the Jazz if he's here on the board for them. I like him as the third guard behind Conley as well as Donovan Mitchell if they look to trade Jordan Clarkson. I think Ayo's going to be ready to play right away. You have so many players that could step in and provide an impact right away in this draft class, and Ayo's one of them. And he's a really good fit with a lot of the other guards that the Jazz have, so I like his fit, number 30 to Utah. Anyway, that wraps up this mock draft. Thank you for watching. Let me know what you think down in the comment section below. Also, leave a like on this video. Counteract all the dislikes that I'm going to get from the fans that don't like who I drafted for their team, because it's bound to happen, and it happened on the first mock draft. So let's fight back against that. Make sure to subscribe if you're not already. As I said, I'm going to try and ramp up some of the content over here at NBA Uprise. So definitely hit that subscribe button. And with that, that's a wrap. I'll see you later. Peace.